it was very clear to me that it's a perceived notion that chai is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And the people who really need a good cup of chai, they find it very difficult to get one. But the other key factor was that the size of the market was very large. See, frankly, as a youngster, my professional DNA was morphed at Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
And the way the company thought. I spent 5 years in the company and I was very young, 20 and a half, 22 and a half, 23, um, when I was working at Microsoft. And one thing that stood with me was that when you are building a product, you got to see it being $1 billion product. Otherwise, it's not even worth it. See, fundamentally, Chai Point is a product company. I mean, I think if there is one truth, which is sort of at one generic truth, we are a product company, right? And second, then sort of ladder to this truth is that we are an omni-channel product beverage company. The product that we deal with is a beverage, and we are an omni-channel product beverage company, right? I think these two things have been clear in our mind from day one. We never confused ourselves to be an experience company. We never confused ourselves to be a service company, and so on and so forth, right? But at the same time, once you are a omni-channel product company, then depending upon the channel in which you are, there are certain hygiene factors that you need to address. So if you are selling a product in a store, the customer experience becomes very, very important. And if you shy away from that, you are going against the very grain and definition and the relevance of that channel, right? And then we were very clear, the other big pillar, that what is the purpose behind the brand? I mean, Guru, I mean, we have grappled at every stage with the word brand purpose. And I must give you credit, I must give you credit for making sure that this was really understood by us and our team at a fairly early stage. Now, our brand purpose is to deliver a great cup that brings people together and brightens up life, right? So that's another pillar which becomes a really defining part of what we are doing. So right now, when I say that we deliver a great cup that brings people together and brightens up lives. So, I mean, brings people together and brightens up life, I think sums up the biggest ethos around chai, right? Number one, chai is not only a group beverage, it's also a solo beverage. That's why we added that brightens up lives, because, there is a part of a ritual, and ritual is a very, very important word for us. I mean, we look at the word ritual very, very seriously. There is a ritual of chai which is sometimes very personal. I'm sure all of us can imagine an elderly retired gentleman making his or her own chai and then reading the newspaper. Many a times, somebody over a weekend kind of foraying into the kitchen and having a bit of a personal dialogue while preparing a cup of chai, right? This is very, very true. I mean, so the individual part of the beverage is very big, very wide, has a lot of meaning. I also firmly believe that we are, in an Asia-led century, right? So when you go to China, when you go to Japan and Far East, you see the amplification of what I just said, in terms of this being such a personal ritual, which is held very, very dear by consumers. So that's a big part. And go India, I mean, you can go to every nook and corner and you will see it. But the other part, which is equally big, especially in India, is that it is such a social beverage. I mean, group of office friends, group of close college friends, families who are being introduced to each other, families which are well established and old, the emotional spectrum across which the beverage is consumed is very, very wide. From joy, sorrow, to happiness, to elation, to warm comfort, to reflection. with all humility, and I don't mean it in a condescending manner at all,
Yeah.
we don't think about competition
Mm.
because the task at hand is so big, you know. Um, and if anybody has to appreciate the bigness of the task, we are trying to fit a product in one of the broadest known emotional spectrum categories for a product. That's
Mm.
a big job. So,
Yeah.
should we focus on that or figure out what everybody else is doing?
Okay.
Uh, that's one very real operational reality that काम इतना है कि यार, we better do your own job. That's one. The
Mm.
second thing also, Guru, is that for a very long time, chai has fought, chai as a category has fought a battle for respect,
Mm.
right? That credibility and respect, right? So even though it is such a genuine product, right? It has zero pretense. It's a
True.
genuine product. If you have to overcome the idea of respect for a country which is as young as ours and as impressionable as ours,
Mm.
right? You need it to be a big play, right?
True.
Therefore, you need participants coming from various spectrums.
Mm.
Fundamentally, what are we really trying to do? We are trying to ensure that we have a great product which is very good in terms of its quality and consistency, because we are after the ritual of chai, right? Quality and
Yeah.
consistency matters, right? You can't just give quality today and bad quality tomorrow. Consistent day in, day out. The
Yeah.
moment you put the word consistent, you need to put in systems, and systems invariably lead you to technology,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So that's one part. The other part is that this is a beverage which has such a wide consumption pattern, both emotionally and in terms of occasions, that you have to ensure its availability and the convenience around its availability. So availability and
Mm.
convenience become the other thing. That means it has to be available. The moment you start solving availability and consistency and availability and convenience aspects also, you go towards systems lead to algorithms and processes, and software starts coming out.
Mm.
So I think one thing is that, um, for everybody who's listening, it should be appreciated that it's not that we had this parallel love for technology and somehow we created this marriage between chai and technology. It
Mm.
was it was the business model, and as we explored the layers of business model, we realized that without technology, it's not possible. The intent that we have is to create products that are good for the consumer and good for the planet. I think in the imminent future, it's very clear that people are going to look at the cost of doing business from an environmental standpoint. It will not
Mm.
be a kind of a moralistic, good to do, socialistic, Ministry of Environment kind of agenda. This will be a very hardcore quality of life, availability of material, really
Yeah.
crisp and clear business logic. We are absolutely open if companies want to engage with us and pick up. I'm saying, retail companies or F&B companies who want to pick up a thread from us as to what all sustainability measures we have put in place. And we are very happy to sort of open source that. At the end of the day,
Mm.
customers are very smart, right? I mean, we don't live in a world where you can sway customers by hoardings.
Mm.
So you can possibly leave a awareness footprint, but that gets erased so quickly. I think customers give us love whenever they do for the product quality,
Mm.
fundamentally. I think it's the product quality which gives them the confidence that these are guys who are serious about their product, and they deliver quality in a very consistent fashion. I think that's the number one quality. You take that away and all our customer love will vanish. That I'm very clear on that, right?
Okay.
And on top
So,
of that, you
yeah.
start putting in some other layers. I would like to believe that we are quite responsive. We genuinely want to learn. And I think that is also something that I know for sure that customers appreciate. Because we will falter, right? Many a times. But we course correct, we take feedback seriously. So I would put these two qualities as the prime reason why we get the love that we do. We get brickbats also sometimes, I mean, to be candid, but that's when
Mm,
we falter.
true.
And we do falter. But because of our responsiveness, I would also like to add that we have a decent track record of winning back customers. What I've come to appreciate is that being authentic and being passionate about what you do is a very, very important thing, right? I
True.
mean, see, because you're ultimately creating a picture for somebody, right? And that picture may not turn out to be the way that person imagines.
Mm,
So you have a very high chance of leaving some of your employees disappointed. यार ऐसी ऐसी कहानी बताई
mm,
थी, ये होगा वो होगा कुछ नहीं हुआ and all that. It's quite
yeah.
possible, right? Uh,
True.
but I think to your best, that should not take away from exhibiting uh, a very genuinely high level of passion.
Mm,
And yet be honest that, look, I mean, I am super passionate, but for ABC reasons, but XYZ reasons, it can go bad also. But the XYZ
mm,
reasons are not taking away the passion and authenticity.
true.
I don't think apart from this method, I have really, or this approach, I've done really anything else. I have a lot of respect for Starbucks, right?
Mm,
So I have read every book that Howard Schultz has written. I still follow every Google alert on Starbucks. I
yeah.
think what Starbucks did in the US is what we would like to do with our brand here in India, right?
Mm,
It's very important what Starbucks did in the US. The context is very important. I mean, coffee is the ritual beverage for the American, for the average American,
mm,
right? And chai
yeah.
is the ritual beverage for the average Indian, right?
Yeah.
We want to do what they accomplished from a consumer standpoint and from a business standpoint. Doesn't mean that we want to follow the same playbook, right? Because
Right.
I think we are in a new era. Mental courage is way, way bigger than physical courage. So, mental courage is actually the most important thing. So,
Absolutely.
I think it's there because it is so important. It is also very rare. अगर बनना है तो मतलब courage के साथ तो दोस्ती करनी पड़ेगी ना. So
बिल्कुल.
otherwise, what's the point? There's
बिल्कुल,
just
बिल्कुल.
too much of uncertainty, and the path is just not defined. You can't see beyond few months in
Yeah.
cases.
True, true.